And now I'd like to look at scientific notation on your calculator. We have some shortcut buttons that'll help you calculate quickly. And so I want to see if we can show you those. I have 3.4 times 10 to the 7th. I want to enter that on my calculator, so I put in 3.4, and I don't have to enter the times 10 to the. I just push this button here. Let's see if we can show it with my green eraser. This EE button. You should have an EE button, or you might have a button that looks like this, EXP. So I'll push the EE button and see how it gives me two decimal places where I can type in my exponent. So this one, the exponent was 7, so I'll just type in a 7 and see how it shows 0.7 on there now. And now I've entered 3.4 times 10 to the 7th. That's how it'll look on my calculator. Okay, so let's divide. So I push the divide button, and it converted my number into standard form, but I don't really care about that. I just want to divide. So now I'll put in the 1.7 and then my EE button again, and I type in the 4. And I wanted it to be a -4 for my exponent, so I have to push this flip your sign key. So I have to push in that button and see how now my sign is a negative. And then push equals, and it shows my answer 2 to the 11th. But it's not really 2 to the 11th because I'm using scientific notation. It is 2.0 times 10 to the 11th, and this is the way that you should write your answer. Never like this. That's a completely different thing. You should write it this way. Okay, let's take a look at one more problem. So I have 2.31 times 10 to the 5th, so I'll put in 2.31 EE 5, and now this time I am multiplying, so I'll push my multiply key. It's going to convert it to standard form for me, and then I just multiply by 3.6 EE 2, and remember it's a -2 on this part, and then push equals, and there's my answer, 8316. So I'll write that down, 8316, but I need it to be in scientific notation, so I decide where my decimal needs to go and write it 8.316 times 10 to the, I know this was a big number, so it'll have a positive exponent and 1, 2, 3 decimal places there. So there's how I would write the answer, 8,316. All right, we have some problems here that you can try out, and stop the video and try them out, and then I'll show them to you. So let's take a look at what we come up with for these problems. This first one, I have 3.6, so I'm going to put in 3.6. Let's clear that, start over 3.6, and then I need to push my EE button, and I have a -3 for my exponent, so I put in the 3 and then I push the negative, and you can see 3.6 to the times 10 to the -3, and then I want to multiply, so I push the multiply key, and I'm multiplying by 2.4 times 10 to the 3rd, so I type in 2.4, and instead of times 10 to the, remember I'm using my EE button, and I need an exponent of 3, and there it is, and then I push equals. I get 8.64. Now that, because it's between 1 and 10, is automatically in scientific notation, and I can leave it as 8.64, or I could, if I wanted, write it as 8.64 times 10 to the 0, because remember anything to the 0 power is just a 1, and that would make it official scientific notation, but this is really the correct answer also. Now for level 2, I have a division problem, so let's clear, and then I'll put in 7.04, and I have a -3 for my exponent again, so EE 3 and then make it negative. Here I'm dividing, so push the divide button, and then I have 3.52 EE 4, and that's my second number that I'm dividing by, the divisor, and I'll push the equals button, and I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. And I do want that in scientific notation, so it'll be 2.0 times 10. And remember, this was a very small number, so I'm going to have a negative exponent. And I want my new decimal place right there, so I count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So times 10 to the negative 7th power. And that'll be my answer, 2.0 times 10 to the negative 7. Now my last problem combines multiplication and a division. So I'll do the multiplication part first. So I start with 1.2, and the exponent on the 10 is a 9, so I'll put that in, times 1.4 EE3, and I'll push equals. I get 1.68 times 10 to the 12th, and then that I will divide by 2.0 times 10 to the negative 5th. So it's already in my calculator for the numerator, so I'll divide by 2.0 EE5, and it has to have a negative, and then just push enter. And I get, already in scientific notation, 8.4 times 10 to the 16th. So there's my answer in scientific notation form.